Are you interested in a religious institution? Are you sure you're not interested in a religious institution? Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm 4 here. Today we are back to cover. Oh my goodness, we knew it early because we stacked the deck. It's Fromage reverse. So I think a lot of people saw this coming because they knew what it was, but we don't. So today we're going to discover it with Fade of Off.
Hello.
So Fromage is a deck that came from the original V selection, and it's pretty fun. And now we have Fromage reverse, which helps because we didn't actually have a good grade 3 Bell Sister right target besides Fromage. So Fromage reverse kind of pads up a lot of parts that you didn't have beforehand, and it gave you a nice reprint of stuff that you definitely needed. So I mean, it does help. We still have the original because we played the deck back last year, so it doesn't really affect us. But it does make the deck very affordable and very cheap. And I would say for the price point, this could be one of the best decks in OTT, I think. So let's actually get down to it. Our grade 3s, as you see here, are Fromage and Fromage reverse. That's it.
Let's go through everyone. No, let's go through the new one first. 'Cause I think the new one actually will explain why the old one is still played in such high quantity. So, Battle Sister Fromage has two very air abilities, honestly. So our first ability is the straight out taken from Raging Form. For every lock card that you have, your Battle Sister rear guards all gain 5k. So yeah, so it basically is just Raging Form. So every time you get a lock card, you get 5k. Your front row, or any rear guards that are not locked get power up. As you know, with Battle Sisters, you want to have as full board as you have. You want to have as full of a board as possible. You want to have as many different named Battle Sisters, and that goes into the second ability because she basically has the same ability as Fromage, which is once per turn, Sound Blast 1, discard a card from your hand. You look at the top cards of your deck equal to the number of Battle Sisters with unique card names. So this includes your Vanguard. So it's not rear guards only, not like Stolen, the strike unit. It's units, so you can go up to top 6. And then you can choose any number of them from the top 6 and put them at the top or bottom in any order. And you may choose to lock any number of Battle Sister rear guards with different card names, and you draw for each card that you lock. So now, previously with Fromage, okay, I'll go into Fromage later because one of her skills is actually relevant to this interaction. Is that with previously Fromage is what Fromage will do is that if you sell a normal unit, you put it straight to the bottom. But now Fromage reverse has the flexibility to actually give you the cards, those normal units that you may need for later on, and as well as give you your trigger stack by not having that many cards at the bottom anymore. You just put all of them on top, you lock some Battle Sisters, and you draw. So this is the reason why Battle Sister Fromage reverse is actually a much better first right target, even if she doesn't have the great on right skill that Battle Sister Fromage, the original, has, because of this interaction alone, that she can let you know what is on the top of the deck and be able to calculate exactly what normal units you want to take back and what you would rather just leave to chance. Because you can just choose not to lock any rear guards and then just lock one, draw, and hold all your Battle Sisters again. 5 in mind, so you're just playing Fromage again. But it's that active drawing aspect that can actually get you out of a bind very easily, and I do like that aspect a lot. Even if I do find it a bit underwhelming because all she does is just do what Fromage does, just a bit different. And then, of course, we have the one and only Battle Sister Fromage, probably still my favorite OTT boss up to now, which is Vanguard Circle Continuous. If your opponent is Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, all of your Battle Sisters gain 5, which includes herself, because every single Battle Sister unit gains 5,000 power. So this not only helps you with the force matchup, but it also helps you hit very solid numbers. Because as you can see later, your rear guards are going to be very, very, very big with this skill. Secondly, her second skill is when placed on Vanguard Circle and Rear Guard Circle, you Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, and draw a card. If your Vanguard is a Battle Sister, you draw 2 instead of 1. So
what does it do?
Oh my god, Powder Greed, wow. But all jokes aside, previously, calling this on the Rear Guard Circle is the stupidest thing you could possibly do because you just draw. It's a Rear Guard Circle, you draw 2, and it's like, okay, that's pretty good, but you still don't have a grade 3 right target. Well, now you have a grade 3 right target, which means that now not only can you pop off with Powder Greed, you also have a boss unit that benefits from that benefits from being able to have it on the rear guard circle as a draw aspect. So it's a 2-for-1 deal, and well as also like it's also the free plus, and you also if you use it in conjunction with Fromage Reverse, you get to know what those two cards are anymore. You're not just like drawing two quick triggers like the good old days of OTT, And Fromage, the original has of course has an iconic ability for V series, which is that you may once per turn act the ability is to discard a card from hand. So no, you do not need to pay the CB cost. It's just discard. You discard a card from hand. You look at top 6. Then you look at top cards equal to the same number of Bell Sisters on your board with different card names, and you put them on the top or bottom in any order. So they both share the same skill, just that one needs a CB and one lets you active draw by locking your rear guards, and one just lets you look at the top 6, top or bottom. And yeah, so for the grade 3s, they are very interchangeable, but if you do want some semblance of strategy as to which one you rather ride, I would recommend actually going into Fromage Reverse first for that active drawing aspect. But do not feel bad if you have to ride into Fromage
It's still pretty
first.
good.
It's such a great ride, and Bell Sister has survived this long in the V meta, albeit not as a tier 2 or even tier 3 deck, still very low tier deck. But it has survived this long just purely because of how good this card is. And Fromage Reverse is just the icing on top.
Yep.
Speaking of icing on top, now we get to the meat of the cake, which is our grade 2s.
I didn't know cake and meat.
Yes, it does.
Oh.
Okay, so for grade 2s, we play 4 copies of the brand new Bell System Mocha. We play 3 copies of Bell System Macaron. And we play 4 copies of Bell System Trifle. So I'll get Mocha out of the way first. So Bell Sister Mocha, of course, is an iconic Bell Sister card. She came out in BTO1, and she was, I think most people, even if either you've seen her in Zero, you've seen her, or you were there in 2010, you will definitely recognize this card. When rolled upon Soul Blast 1, you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, you put 1 to hand and put 1 to the back, 1 to the top of the deck. So basically, it's actually like the GBT12 Bell Sister that we got. I think her name is Madeline, if I'm not wrong. Then she has that ability that lets you basically does this for her strike bonus, but now instead of having a strike bonus, it's just on right. So it's sort of a right chain for Fromage, but generally we will not use this skill because you have much better right targets, as you can see here. And her second ability is the reason why she's so good in this deck, is that if you have 3 or more Battle Sister units on your board, she gains 5k power and 5k shield. And if you have 4 or more cards in hand, so basically it's Oracle.
Oracle's 5.
Almost Oracle.
Almost Oracle.
She gets another 5k power. So she
Wow.
becomes a 19k beater
For free.
for having 3 Battle Sister units in hand on board and 4 or more cards in hand. And she also is a 10k shield, which means that she's on par with your grade 1s, which means that you can actually afford to play less grade 1s if you so choose for a more aggressive build. And to be honest, I think this one of the main reasons why Mocha is so good is because, unlike the card that we're going to discuss later, she doesn't need a trigger to actually get the 19k. So she is your fail-safe option in case everything goes wrong. Your top 6 is all normal units, you guys check 2 normal units, everything is going horribly. You still have a big beater to fall back on in Mocha. And that 10k shield also does help because you are flooding your board. And you do have to commit a lot of cards in hand because OTT doesn't really have that much superior calling. So having that 10k shield helps when you do get to see on top of the deck and you are able to draw it. And speaking of big beaters, we have the original big beater for OTT as a whole, but now it's just Bell Sisters, is Bell Sister Macaron. So Bell Sister Macaron has the ability that once per turn, if you reveal a trigger unit in your drive check, this unit gains 10,000 power on the rearguard circle. So it's a very, very simple ability. If you play OTT, this unit becomes 19k beater. Or if you're playing Fromage, or Fromage Reverse, it can go upwards of 24, 29, 32, 37, a lot, very, very high scaling number. So she is definitely a very good pressure card, and if you're playing Battle Sisters, you have to play this. Why we're not playing 4 is, as explained earlier, is that Mocha basically is just Macaron, but slightly more conditional, but not conditional to the point where it's RNG based. Mocha is a lot more consistently getting to that 19k, whereas Macaron is a lot can potentially be easier with less commitment if you know your deck well enough, especially so since we're playing OTT, we know when there's going to be that double crit, as always. And of course, we have the bread and butter finisher for Battle Sisters is Battle Sister Trifle. Battle Sister Trifle is still the best Battle Sister we have, and I'm sort of sad that we actually didn't get a card on the set or as on par of this unit in this set, and we actually just got cards that just support Battle Sister playstyle as a whole. Because as much as I do like Trifle, I just feel as though like her card design has sort of limited Battle Sister as a whole in terms of what the deck wants to do. Because this will always be the end game, and there's really nothing else you can do about it. You're wondering why her skill is when placed on Vanguard Circle or Vanguard Circle from hand, Color Blast 1. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you choose a Battle Sister from among them and call it to your Vanguard Circle, and you leave the other 2 on the top of the deck in any order. So not only does she give you a +1,
It's a top deck.
she also lets you stack the deck, as well as she also gives you two units on the board for 1 counter blast. So it's 2 Battle Sisters on the board for 1 CB, for Fromage. We need as many Battle Sisters as we can to help our game plan. So that is already a very, very strong skill. If she stopped there, she would be a really good card, but she wouldn't be the end game. And the end game, because she has the second ability, which is when this unit attacks, if you looked at your deck through a card ability, she gains 5k until the end of that battle, and you may Soul Blast 1 Grade 3, Grade 3. You get to until the end of that battle, your opponent cannot call a Sentinel from hand to guard for this attack. So this is your OTK strategy, because you stack double crit on this one unit, and then you attack, and your opponent cannot Sentinel, they basically lose. Or unless it's premium, they deny Griffin, or they decide to play witches, and you call over it, or they play Genesis. There are a lot of ways out of this card, but generally this is how you win lots of games, and it's good. It's a sort of dichotomy because the first skill wants you to use it early, but the second ability wants you to keep it in your head until you can win that turn. So this is definitely the skill check for most Battle Sister players, if they know when to use Trifle, when not to use Trifle, when to extend, when to hold back, when to go all out, especially when you have that Grade 3. So it's an all or nothing at that point in order to try and win. A unique strategy that I've actually seen for Trifle is if you have, let's say so we're gonna a bit of spoilers for the great ones. So let's say you have you have a whole board of Battle Sisters with different names, and then you can choose for Trifle. Let's say you have the Grade 3 Soul, you can just lock 3, and then all 3 of your units will gain 15k. So this gains 15, this gains 15. So this column is already hitting for 33 plus 14, 29. Yeah, 29 plus 33. That's already 50k, 60k. Then if you stack 2 triggers from that, suddenly this column is hitting for 80, 90k. So plus 1 cannot Sentinel. So this is...
I mean, you could just choose to not lock this one. So you still have one more tag, but this column like this is already pretty threatening by itself.
Yes, I mean, yeah, because you don't have to go for the all-in armor break strategy. But if you want to, I have seen this strategy work out, and this becomes almost Zoa levels of unguardable. So yeah, that is definitely one thing that Fromage Reverse has brought out of Trifle that I didn't expect. But I am glad that there's some added dimension there to a card that I've already saw in high regard anyways. And now we move on to the Grade 1s. We play 4 copies of the Grade 3 Searcher, Ameno Murakumo. We play 4 copies of Battle Sister Kasata. We play 4 copies of Battle Sister Torijas. And we play 2 copies of Battle Sister Panatone. So I'll get Panatone out of the way first, because I think most people know how cancer this card is at this point. When act once per turn, put this card into your soul.
It's not once per turn.
It's not once per turn. It's not once per turn. Put this card into your soul. You may look at the top 2 cards of your deck, and you may choose one to put at the top, one to put at the bottom. And when you reveal a trigger during that turn's drive check, it gains the trigger power is 20k instead of 10k. Oh no, not really 20k. It just gains another additional 10k. So in case thanks Ames for for telling me this is not once per turn. So if you have two, so only playing two in this case because you have to fit in all the new cards. But if
And you need a consistency.
if you choose to cut, let's say your Grade 3 Searcher, you can choose to play 4 Peloton and use all 4 in one turn. And suddenly that column that used to hit for 80k, 90k now hits for 130, 140. So
ban OT, guys.
yeah, so it's almost at the level of overtrigger PG or die. Or you can't even PG, so it's,
Yeah, you can't even
it's
PG.
OT or die. Or 6 damage or die. But oh no, it's hitting for 3 crit, so wow.
Unless your
Yeah.
opponent is also playing a leaker deck and he stacks 3 heals on top because he's a battle system mirror.
Yes, but overall Panatone is of course it is one of the strongest scaling cards in this deck. If you are able to big brain your opponent, this basically is an auto win card. But of course, you won't always be able to get to the auto win state. So that's why we only play at 2 because
We need the rest of the stuff.
yeah. As speaking of stuff that we need grade 3s. So what do we play? We play a grade 3 searcher. Grade 3 searcher is very generic. If you looked at your deck through a card ability, a Vega Circle, he gains 5,000 power. So 13k beater early. And I mean, looking at your deck, searching top 5 actually counts as looking at your deck. So it means that on your very first turn, it already is a 13k beater. Lava flow, yay!
But the only drawback for this guy is he's not actually a Bell Sister. So do keep in mind that you actually want to get him out as early as possible so he doesn't interfere with late game boards.
Yes.
Bell Sisters, they're quite xenophobic, so you actually do want to make sure that in late game you don't have stray Armin or Murakumo sitting around. You want to make sure they've either left the field or use them as right targets so they don't actually interfere with your board states of the sisters anymore.
Yes. And then we of course play our giant beat stick that's not actually the beat stick, is a Battle Sister Kasata. So Kasata has the same skill as Battle Sister Macaron, which is that if you try a trigger she gains 10, so she becomes 8k to 18k booster, and if you have these two in the same column, to get plus 20k, so it's a 37k column. If you have Fromage, that's 42. If you have base Fromage, that column becomes 42. If you locked a bunch of cards with Fromage reverse, that column can suddenly go up to 60k, 70k. So in case it hasn't been very obvious now, your rear guards become very, very, very slow, and now your columns can become even more slow thanks to this card. Overall, just very good pressure and very good forcing out PGs early and forcing out a lot of shield from your opponent. But in order for us to even get a good board state, we of course have to play our 3+ engine, which is Battle Sister Torijas. Okay, it's not really an engine, it's a one card combo. Battle Sister Torijas has the ability that when placed on Vanguard Circle or Regular Circle, you may look at the top card of your deck. If it's a Battle Sister, you add it to your hand, and this ability may only be used by a card with the same card name once per turn. So you can't just call 4 of them. So you see, the main restriction, so you can't call 4 of them and add 4 Battle Systems on top of the deck. You only can do this once, but just that once every single turn is already good enough to propel this card to what saves this deck, honestly. And it's probably one of the reasons why people don't play the Grade 3 Searcher in this deck, because they want to max out on Battle System, and then this is their consistency. As evidently, we don't agree with that strategy, but it is a strategy nonetheless. A second ability is that it's the same as Trifle. When this unit attacks or boosts, if you looked at your deck through a card ability, it gains 5k until the end of that battle. So it's 13k booster, as you said before, this can power it up, this can power it up. It's self-explanatory at this point. That column is going to be very, very big, so actually you stack it with triggers.
Moving on to the grade 0s, we play 4 draw PG, we play 8 crits, 4 of them are Battle Sister crits, 4 heal guards, and 1 starter.
Yes, so of course the starter is Los Angeles Makers. If you are playing another OTT starter, something is wrong, something is very wrong with you. Play 8 crit because you want to win the game. We play PG. We play draw PG instead of the crits and niggas because we need
pieces.
Yeah, we need pieces, and also because we don't want to lose a Skull Dragon. And
why are you worried about Skull Dragon?
And then
heal 7 Cs.
And we play heal guards because we don't want to lose the Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
Yes.
What Ghost Ship? No, it's Night Spinel. Night Spinel, my guys. It's Night Spinel. So yeah, that wraps up our Battle Sister deck profile. So the deck has stayed practically the same, which is a surprise for a deck that got 3 new cards in support. It's really fun, honestly. Battle Sisters can I say this? Didn't really need the support, but it's just
No,
good.
they did,
Oh,
but
they
it's
did.
just that this is I mean this is evident in that Bushiroad thinks that it doesn't need different support. It just needs more of the same, which is not. It's controversial. It's not the popular opinion, but I do see where they're coming from, and I do appreciate the direction that they went with this support with. It's just more of the same, and it does actually help you branch out your the maximum potential that you have in your existing pieces. So I will give them that.
Thank you all so much for watching. We are once again still on VCall decks. Yes, what a surprise. So if you actually do want to see more VCall decks, do leave us a comment in the comment section below. We may cover it, or we may have already covered it. You know, who actually knows at this point. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye bye.